for me to say, well, Trump joined the neocons and he did that and that, he so far, can't be blamed for this. But in a way, even if you did the right things, if I were in office and I vetoed everything, and cut spending, the immediate reaction would be negative. It'd be like taking somebody off drugs as a drug addict, and the reaction isn't good. So we're really in a mess, and that's also the reason they're going to inflate, and the final crisis will be the rejection of the dollar, and we're not yet there.
Ron Paul is an absolute legend who has introduced more people to the ideals of freedom and liberty in the early 2000s than anybody did during the entire 20th century. His popularity in 2008 and in 2012 was because of his incredible consistency, the fact that he has always stood by his principles, and how he's never allowed himself to be bought by any special interests. For decades now, he's been proposing smaller government by suggesting that we eliminate several wasteful federal agencies. He's always promoted ending foreign wars, eliminating taxes on capital gains, eliminating the estate tax, and of course the one that actually hacks at the root of all our problems, ending the Federal Reserve. The man is incredibly consistent and just full of integrity. I'm honored to have interviewed him a number of times and to have shared a stage with him at multiple events where I can personally attest, after spending time with him in real life, that he is the real deal, a true champion of freedom. Now, when Elon Musk recently said at a rally that he wants to cut $2 trillion from the federal budget, Ron Paul chimed in and he said, "Elon cutting $2 trillion from the budget? Great idea. Start with some of the biggest welfare recipients, the military-industrial complex and the pharmaceutical-industrial complex. Oh, and end the Fed." To which Elon replied, "Needs to be done." Dr. Paul was then asked in a podcast if he would join the team, and he said that he would consider it. Ron Paul says he wants to join Elon Musk to cut government waste in second Trump administration. To which Elon Musk replied, "Would be great to have Ron Paul as part of the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. Ron Paul responded with, "I'd be happy to talk with you about it, Elon." And just like that, the memes started spreading. Like, what would you say you do here? So in this video, with just one day now remaining in the lead up to the US presidential selection, I'm going to explain to you why I'm actually rather concerned about the prospect of Dr. Paul joining Team Trump. And I think by the end of this video, you will be too. But just before we do, guys, really quickly, I'd ask that you please consider supporting my efforts at pressfortruth.ca/donate. Please take one moment today to make a contribution. You can find a link at the top of the description of this video. All right, guys, check this out. Back in 2020, about 3 months before the election, I posted this. On August 12th of 2020, I posted, "The 2020 presidential selection is underway with Kamala Harris as Soros's pick. Alex Soros congratulated Harris on her future success." In this video, Dan Dicks of Press for Truth digs into who Kamala Harris is, while reminding the viewers that this whole selection process will be more choreographed than a ballet, as the deep state is and has been controlling every election for over half a century. And in that video from over 4 years ago, I explained why we should be concerned about a future with Kamala Harris, and why the likes of George and Alex Soros chose her for vice and eventually president of the United States of America. And here we are now, 4 years later, and the race is allegedly tight as ever, just as it always is. So when I heard that Ron Paul may be teaming up with Donald Trump and Elon Musk on the Trump team, I gotta say, I became very concerned about this, and let me please explain why. Guys, Ron Paul is solid. He is perfect. He's exactly what is needed. I realized that way back in 2008 when he was running, and I knew that in 2012 when he was running as well, and he gathered so much support, and rightly so. Because as I said, he's solid, he's consistent, he's absolutely perfect for the job, he's full of integrity. Which is why I also realized back then that the only thing that would make me not trust him would be if he were to win the presidency of the United States. Because you simply do not get into that position if you are a Ron Paul. Like I said, the guy is the real deal. So now here we are in the 2024 race, and the Republicans want the Libertarian vote. And the Libertarians now figure that they can slip Ron in through a vote for Trump. Libertarians can put Ron Paul in the White House by voting Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, if you buy one Donald Trump before Tuesday, they are throwing in one Ron Paul on top of an Elon Musk run DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency. This is a deal of a lifetime, folks. If you're looking to write in Ron Paul, vote for Trump to make it count. Unfortunately, their minds are clouded by statism, because we're talking about Elon and Donald here. The guy who wants to put a brain chip in everybody and his biggest fan, both of whom are at the behest of the powers that ought not be. So if Trump is going to be allowed to win again, then I think they're just using Paul's good name. And when push eventually comes to shove, they'll either make sure his hands are tied, or they'll cut him off early, or God forbid, something even worse. Listen now to Ron Paul back in 2018 explaining to me what ending the Fed under Trump would actually look like, and how an engineered dollar crash could be blamed on Trump in the middle of an economic crisis, which could eventually lead to a civil war.
If you have something that's ready to crash, and then you have a president and a Congress that does all the wrong things, then you're going to make it worse. That certainly is what happened in the Depression time in the 30s. It certainly happened in 2009, when all they did was, use QE to build the bubble bigger and bigger. And of course, that's the crisis that we're facing now. And even as we speak, there looks like there's some problems arising in Europe, with great weakness in Italy, and gold going up and the stock market going down. But it is still sort of under control. But eventually it'll lose control. But for me to say, well, Trump joined the neocons and he did that and that, he so far, can't be blamed for this. But in a way, even if you did the right things, if I were in office and I vetoed everything, and cut spending, the immediate reaction would be negative. It'd be like taking somebody off drugs as a drug addict, and the reaction isn't good. So we're really in a mess, and that's also the reason they're going to inflate, and the final crisis will be the rejection of the dollar, and we're not yet there.
Well, do you see the Federal Reserve as ending the Fed as still a viable option? And if so, how could Trump go about doing something like that, or anyone for that matter, when it comes to ending the Federal Reserve?
Well, it couldn't, and I've even said, if I were there and I could take the key and throw it away and end the Fed, it wouldn't be the smartest thing to do. But what has to be done, and that's what I work on now, and all of us do in these liberty movements, is try to change people's mind on what the role of government ought to be. Because that's the only thing that really counts, is how much freedom do we have, and how much appetite do the people have for government? Do they support the wars? Do they support the welfare state? Do they support fiat money? Because as long as they do that, if you just sort of say, okay, we're going to quit printing money, and you don't have anything to replace it with, and they don't understand what liberty is all about, and they don't understand why deficits do matter, it'll probably cause a civil war.
Folks, Ron Paul gets it. If the powers that ought not be crash the dollar under Trump's watch, we'll see a civil war like we've never seen before. Let's not forget that order out of chaos is their playbook, with a one world government as the eventual endgame. Be it Trump or Harris, either way, the secret government has a plan to create a new world order, and they will use whatever puppet they have at their disposal to get the job done. That's why we need to reject statism and become the biggest threat to the system that there is. A fully independent, sovereign human being who's capable of fending for himself without any kind of need or help from the government whatsoever. We do that, folks, and we win. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to check me out at pressfortruth.ca/donate if you appreciate my efforts to bring you this information. And please click the thumbs up button, share this video, and stay tuned, guys. We're gonna have more video reports coming soon. This is Dan Dicks reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.